Hello everyone, today's video is going to be hella long. As you can see, we are going to rate every single survivor perk in Dead by Daylight based on its usefulness, how strong they are, and also how fun they are. I've decided that I'm going to rank these perks character by character. It took me half an hour to sort these. They were in alphabetical order, and yeah, it doesn't matter. There are going to be chapters on the video too, so if you want to see like David King's perks and think, oh, are they any good, then you can click on that. We are going to start with the general perks. I'm going to put you're going to see on screen for every perk what it does, so I don't have to explain it every time. You can just read it on the screen. But first on the list of general perks is Dark Sense. Now, Dark Sense is interesting. It's never going to be 5 stars, but it's never going to be 0 stars either. I think it's going to be somewhere here. I think I want to say 3. I think any perk that can give you information on the killer specifically will always have a use. The problem with it is that it doesn't stack with itself if multiple gens get done. And number 2, if you already know where the killer is, like you're in an open loop and you get that aura read, like it's obviously not going to do much. But there are times where you get very, very good use out of this perk. So 3 stars. Deja Vu, S tier, obviously. This is amazing for information, to know where and when to break up 3 gens. This is just a great perk. The 6% repair speed that you get with this perk is great as well. It's 10 out of 10. A lot of killer mains think that this is a very overpowered perk. I think it's very much perfect. Now, before you ask, what are your credentials? Are you a survivor main? I'm not. I'm 50-50. I can show you my dead by stats thing right now. So that doesn't mean that I know what's right, but it does mean that I do see both sides. At least I hope pretty equally. But Deja Vu is just an S tier perk. Amazing perk. 10 out of 10. Constant value. Hope. Hope is pretty good, but maybe I will put it in 4 stars. The main drawback of Hope is the fact that you have to make it to endgame. In endgame, for the most part, you will see so much value out of this perk. There's so much you can do with the 7% haste that you get with this perk. It's amazing. It's a very, very great perk. Problem is you have to make it to endgame. And that's where, on my list, there aren't going to be many endgame perks here, because if there is a condition for the perk to work or be good, then it is not gonna be 5 stars for me. Now keep that in mind, this is my opinion. Kindred, pretty good. I think it's 4 stars. This is a very good perk, especially for solo queue. Amazing aura reads, a lot of great information. I think that it should be partially base kit. I really do. Like, remove the killer aura aspect of this and make it base kit. What you would do with the perk itself if you do that, I don't know. But I think that Kindred is a great perk. Not 5 stars, but it's very much 4. Lightweight. Lightweight is not great, but it's not bad either. It's an okay perk. It's very decent. For it being a general perk, it's okay. You will see lower MMR players use this. You don't see it that much in higher MMR. There are things you can do with this perk, like plays you can make to confuse the killer a little more. Like if you use this with Fixated, number 1, you can see how your like scratch marks work with this perk, but you can also walk here and there to like make your scratch marks confusing for the killer. No One Left Behind. No One Left Behind is great. I think it's even 4 stars. This is not it's kind of in the category of Hope, where if you make it to endgame, you will most definitely get a lot of value out of this. There's aura read with it. I think you get extra blood points too, which who doesn't love extra blood points? You also get unhooking speed. 50% unhooking speed is not to be slept on. You also get 50% healing speed. You see everybody's aura. It's just a very good and well-rounded perk, which unfortunately falls a little short on the fact that you do need to make it to endgame. But when you do, this perk is pretty good. Plunderous Instinct. It's not great. Outside of doing tome challenges and chest builds, this is not a good perk. You get better items from these chests, but like you're already wasting time doing a chest, and then you might get like a dookie item I don't know. It's just not great. You see the chest auras. This is a perk that's a staple in chest builds for like with chest challenges and all of that stuff. And for that purpose, it's good. It will not get 0 stars. I think 0 stars to me means there's no purpose. This is terrible. But there is a purpose to Plunderous Instinct, and that's tome challenges and chest builds. Other than that, this is not a perk you should be bringing. Ever. Don't bring it. Premonition. I'm sorry, but Premonition is 0 stars for me. This perk is almost useless. I think it needs an update. And I do think that this is, like, Premonition is a product of its time. It's a very outdated perk. And this has no use other than that one tome challenge where you have to activate Premonition and point in the killer's direction or something. Like, other than that, there is no use for this perk. Spine Chill is better. Using your eyes is better. Dark Sands, there's so many other perks that are better than Premonition. Resilience. Resilience is a 5-star perk to me. It is amazing. It is maybe, in my opinion, the best perk in the game for one simple reason. You will always get value out of this perk in every single match. There are almost no matches where you just won't get any value out of this. Like 9% can in some cases be not great for certain things. Like a 9% heal increase isn't amazing, but it's 9%. You do everything faster while injured, and you will most likely be injured most of the match, or at least half of the match, where you would do gens fast, you will heal fast, you would do totems faster, chests faster, other things faster. Even unhooks. Like, you will unhook 9% faster, which that 9% isn't going to do much, but, you know, 9% is 9%. It is just an overall great perk, and also for people who play on a little bit of a higher ping, aka me, I play on 64 ping every time. This is very good for just making sure that fast vaults are a little more reliable. A little bit. Amazing perk all over. Sloppy... No, what's this perk again? This is Slippery Meat. This is not great. This is a very niche perk. It is bad. Bring Deliverance, bring Wicked. This is a fun perk to bring. I'll give it that. It's fun. These 2 perks are only here because of their fun aspect. And for, like, with Slippery Meat, you can put them in, like, an unhook build with Up the Ante, Luck Offerings, all of that stuff. And, you know, have fun, like, have a field day with a Swift. Other than that, this is not a good perk. You are not going to get value. It's a terrible perk. Small Game, I want to put it in the same category as Premonition, but unfortunately, Small Game has a slight use. Like, you would think, oh, you can just know where totems are. No, 45-degree angle and like what? It's too much. Like, I have used Small Game before and heard that there's a totem near me when I'm trying to find a totem, and it takes me like 5 minutes to find it. It's not good for that. But it does tell you how many totems have been cleansed, which there can be uses for that. In totem builds, for example, in totem cleansing builds, it can be nice. And also just for knowing if all of the totems are cleansed, if you need to know that, which isn't not something you need to know, but at least there is some information to this perk. Premonition, get in the bin. Bye-bye. Spine Chill. This might be controversial, but I do think that Spine Chill still has a slight purpose. Now, I don't think Spine Chill is good. I really don't. I miss old Spine Chill. I think that they could have kept old Spine Chill. And when I mean old Spine Chill, I mean when the condition of the killer looking at you with clear line of sight, that whole condition was gone. Like, they could just be in, like, you could be close to them or whatever. I don't remember exactly, but I do miss that part of it. But it does have some other uses too. When the killer does look at you, you get 6% speeds to a lot of different things, like healing, generator repair, opening gates. Opening gates is where this really kind of makes a difference. If you have Spine Chill Resilience, you are doing that gate 15% faster. Like, while the killer is, like, looking at you, right? Trying to come get your ass. Niche, but at least it's better than Plunder's Instinct. And Premonition. This is not happening. Terrible. Like, no, actually, I have to put it here for one specific reason. it does work a little bit in certain builds. If you have that one medkit add-on with that skill check thing, with this perk, it's kind of like, you kind of get it. I don't know. This is not happening. It's niche. Okay, I don't have much to say about it. It's very niche. It needs to be updated. Like, it does it though? I don't know. We'll make it great. Well, actually, I would put it 5 stars, but there are problems I'm having with Will Make It, which is one of the main reasons. I am a healing person. I love healing in Dead by Daylight. Healing builds are my favorite. I always bring healing perks. No matter what type of build I'm doing, I will always make sure there's at least one healing perk in that build. Will Make It never makes it into that build for one specific reason. If you're running up to the hook, expecting the unhook, and then randomly some other survivor gets it in front of you, or you're in chase while somebody gets the unhook, or you're unlucky enough, like that whole condition about getting the unhook can sometimes be difficult to achieve. But the 100% heal boost is really, really, really good. It is amazing, and it lasts for what, 130? No, how long is it? 90 seconds? A minute and a half? That is a very long time. You can get a lot of resets in endgame. This perk can really shine. But because of that condition, it isn't 5 stars for me. This is my tier list. This is not me looking at it from everybody's point of view. This is from my point of view. All right, we're done with the general perks. Let's get to the survivors and their teachables. The first one we have is Bond. Bond is fairly good. Now, Bond is not 5 or 4 stars for me. It is very consistent. It gives you very consistent value about where your survivor teammates are. The thing is, you don't always need this information. You know what I mean? Like, there are going to be matches where it's not too necessary, but it is a pretty good perk. When I started playing this game, Bond was in my build always. This perk is pretty good. Dwight has very good teachables. Bond can be used for many, many reasons. A lot of people use it for like trailing so that they can get flashy saves or pallet saves or whatever. I like it more for a couple of other reasons. If you need healing, or knowing where a chase is happening, or knowing where people are doing gens if you're in chase so that you can steer away from that. But there are other perks that can help you with that as well. But I just think it's a pretty good perk. Doesn't need any changes. It's just pretty good. Kind of niche-ish, but I don't know. Prove Thyself, great perk. I love this perk. I'm sad that it got a nerf. I kind of see why, but like, I liked the old Prove Thyself, especially the blood points. I think that was great. I loved the old blood points. Seeing them remove more of those like blood points bonuses from perks makes me very sad. Prove Thyself is still very strong. It will change your matches very significantly and make the game pretty much easier for you when you run it, if you do it right. The reason I'm not putting it at 5 stars is 5 stars is kind of reserved for those perks where you will always get value. There aren't gonna be conditions to the value. Where with Prove Thyself, there's one specific condition, and that is you have to do gens with people. And sometimes you won't be doing that. Doing gens with people is kind of not good, because if everybody spread out on different gens, that's way more pressure being spread out on obviously a lot of different gens instead of one and one gen, if that makes sense. But Prove Thyself is still very good, very strong. It's nice to have for when you do end up on gens with people. Even if you are a person who likes to do the gens alone, when other people come on that gen and there's Prove Thyself, you do it faster. That 10% speed on both people, or 3 or 4, whatever, how many people are on it, it's good. It's very, very good. Leader. I think Leader is great. I love Leader. Leader is not 4 or 5 stars for quite a lot of reasons, honestly. But I love Leader. I don't know. I like that you can kind of force other people to be faster at things, if that makes sense. When you get unhooked and you have Leader, it's like you're putting a healing perk on your teammates to heal you faster. 25% isn't insane, but it is something. It's so annoying when you get off a hook, you have Sloppy Butcher on, and guess what? The person unhooking you have no healing perks, and now it's gonna take 24 seconds to get healed? No, with Leader, you do cut that a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. And you also, this is where this perk really shines. And this is where I think it's very underrated. In Swifts, if you're playing with friends, duos, triples, whatever. If you have leader, you can make your teammates cleanse totems faster. I mean, you can do this in solo queue too, but it's gonna be less coordinated and more difficult to do. But you can make your teammates cleanse totems faster, which can be very significant if there's like Devour Hope or other nasty perks that like hex perks. You can also make other survivors open doors faster. 25% faster doors. You cut off 5 seconds. A door takes 20. Just cut off 5 whole seconds. This is very significant in so many cases. I promise you, leader is a very, very nice perk. It is obviously not too consistent because you have to get the value on other people. You have to kind of be with people all the time, which that isn't always optimal. And you will not get this value back at yourself. You're giving that value to other people. But I really like this perk. I used to run it a lot all the time, and honestly, I still run it every now and then. I would love to see more people use this perk. Meg Thomas, Quick and Quiet. Quick and Quiet is fine, in my opinion. Alone, it isn't great, but it's not bad. You know what I mean? It's not, like, it's a little niche. Like, silencing your vaults of any kind can come in helpful, but personally, I don't see much use of this. If I see survivors use this perk, I very rarely fall for it, like fall for the Quick and Quiet. And more often than not, like it kind of makes it even worse. Because like I'm fast vaulting a window, but the killer didn't hear it, so they're like mind gaming and damn, I just died because they didn't hear me vault the window. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Quick and Quiet alone isn't great, but when you start pairing it with other things like Lithe Dance With Me, that's kind of nice, but that's 3 whole perks to make one perk be good. And people use it with Head On all the time, which is a good combo, I'm not gonna lie, but alone, I don't think it's great. And I know this is an unpopular opinion. I know people will put it at least at 3 stars, but it's not that for me. Sprint Burst, S tier. You will always use Sprint Burst. Always. Every single match you will use Sprint Burst. It is like conditional in a way where you have to work around the perk itself. Like there's a lot of other perks where you kind of can activate it whenever you want, almost like Balance Landing, Lithe. But with this one, you need to manage it a little better. And if you can do that, it is such a strong perk. But even without that, if you're on a gen in buttfuck nowhere, there are no pallets because they've all been used, there's no good windows, and the killer is right there, you have Sprint Burst, you can run away, get a lot of free distance. This is just an overall, it is the best exhaustion perk in the game. This isn't just me saying, everybody says this. If I put it anywhere lower than this, people would yell at me. Adrenaline. This is going to be controversial, but I'm going to put Adrenaline in 4 stars. I hold your comments. The reason is because for literally all the other reasons in this category, it's conditional. And old Adrenaline, I think I would put in 5 stars. I think I would make an exception for old Adrenaline. But now, Adrenaline, there's too many conditions to this perk. It's still very, very, very strong and can change matches drastically and make killers lose so much pressure. However, it can also do absolutely nothing. And that's what I don't like about perks. I don't like when an effect can either do way too much or way too little. And because you have to first make it to endgame, and you also need to be injured, not on hook, not be like carried by the killer, you can either be injured or in the dying state. This, like, you know what I mean? Like, there are too many conditions for this perk. It's still very, very strong. I've lost to new Adrenaline many times, but I haven't ran this perk in a long time because of those conditions. There's too much. I would rather run perks that will help me get to endgame than help me if I get to endgame. Now to Claudette. I love Claudette. Her perks are also controversial in a sense. Empathy. Empathy is okay. I think that empathy is like very, very like in the middle for me. When I think about like a perk that's very okay, it's empathy. Empathy is a perk where you will get a lot of value almost every single match. well, not almost, you will get value every match. You will always see survivors running around the map when they're injured. You can see what the chase is happening. If you want to be one of those people that follow with flashlights or background player to get pallet safes and stuff, it's also very good for that. It's also really nice if you have a healing build to know where you can go heal your survivor teammates. It's just overall a pretty nice perk, and it's obviously not too strong. There's nothing more to it other than the aura read, but it's a good perk. I have nothing more to say. Botany Knowledge. 4 stars. I love this perk. I run this perk almost all the time. I alternate between this and another perk I will talk about later. When I get to that other perk, I will be yapping for a minute. Don't you worry. But I always run at least one healing perk, and 50, 60, 70% of the time, it's usually Botany Knowledge. Very, very consistent. 50% healing speed is not to be laughed at. It can change matches always. It will always get you value. Always. There's a reason it's not in 5 stars though. And that is because it has some negative sides to it. Number one is, if you are running Botany Knowledge and you're in a situation where you cannot be healed and you're looking for a medkit in a chest, and you find a medkit, you cannot heal yourself fully with Botany Knowledge because of the 20% penalty to the efficiency. And that is one of the main reasons that I don't think this perk is S tier. I am so sad that this perk has that, like, efficiency penalty. I really don't think it should. If it didn't have that, it would be 5 stars any day. I love this perk. It's such a good perk to bring. You see a lot of people running it because it's a very consistent, good healing perk, which doesn't have the condition of getting an unhook or this and that and this and that. You know what I mean? There's basically no conditions. It's always just 50% heal. Self-care. This is gonna be a little controversial, but self-care alone, I'll give it a 3 stars. The ability to be able to heal yourself from injured to healthy as many times as you want and many times as you need will always be strong, even if it takes you 6 minutes, even if it takes you 100 hours. It does, like, that's the ability of this perk to heal yourself, and that's what's gonna make it good. I think one heal alone with no healing perks or healing buffs is 45 seconds, which is insane. That's like half a gen. That is, no, don't do that. Don't be that person. But being able to heal yourself, like, there's so many people that don't heal in solo queue. We all know it. People want to get the resilience value. People don't want to heal for whatever reason. People want to throw whatever. Being able to heal yourself just over and over again forever, unless you're going against, like, I don't know, a plague, it's just so nice. Even with no extra healing perks. You put Botany Knowledge on that, Desperate Measures, somebody else as leader, I don't know, other perks, resilience, like, makes the heal a little faster. Not a lot, since the healing is multiplicative and not additive, meaning if you bring Botany Knowledge with self-care, it takes 50% of the self-care, like, healing speed and adds that on top of it, which is 12.5%, which makes you heal at not even 50% speed. So, you know, it's not amazing, but it gets the job done. It does what it does, and it does it not well, but it does it okay. Now on to Jake. Iron Will is, I think alone, I want to say 4 stars. It's very, very, like, if I could have like a 4.5 stars, that's where Iron Will would come in. I think that Iron Will is a very good perk, don't get me wrong, but the condition of the exhausted thing, where you can't be exhausted because then you will make noise, it's very understandable why it's there. I don't think that they should remove it necessarily. It's just that condition makes it so that you can't really run Lithe or Sprint Burst or whatever. And there's a lot of perks and add-ons from Killer side that can just make you exhausted, which will just deactivate this perk entirely. But being able to not make any noise at all when you're injured is a very powerful and strong thing. You can be hiding very, very close to the killer right now, but they would have no clue. So it is a very, very, very strong chase perk. I think that where it is right now, I think it's perfect. They might change it in the future. They stay changing all of the perks. So for now, it's very good. Calm Spirit, 1 star. This perk is not good. I don't understand why it has like that penalty to opening chests and cleansing totems. That is dumb. Like, this perk is already not good. Like, if they remove that penalty, it will still not be a good perk. Maybe I'd put it in 2 stars. Maybe. It's just, it's not amazing. It is niche because obviously you don't scream. So if you're going against a doctor or any other killer that can make you scream a lot, or perks that make you scream, you know, it's pretty nice. It does get heavily outclassed by another perk way later in the video. Another thing is that it does make crows that are on the map not like move if you run close to them, which a lot of people probably don't know, that the crows on the map, like if you're too close to them, sometimes they will get like take off and fly away, and the killer will know if they pay attention. But survivors can also, like, you know, the crow aspect is not used enough. People like the sweatiest of sweaty blight mains, yes, they will notice a crow flying. I will notice a crow. I'm not a sweaty blight main, I'm just a sweaty ghost face main. I'm really not, but we like some, like if you are a nerdy ass killer like me, you will notice those kind of things, but don't run Calm Spirit for it. It's really not that worth it. Saboteur, I think Saboteur is actually 3 stars is kind of I'm gonna put it in 2 stars, because the knowledge of knowing where to go, Sabo for example, or where to go down so that the killer doesn't get scourge hooks, can be very nice. I think it's actually very underrated. And the fact that you can, you know, Sabo a hook without a toolbox every 60 seconds, I think, or something, it's nothing to be laughed at. But like, it's still not great. Like, you have to be in position to get the Sabo, and then sometimes the Sabo doesn't even do anything, and like there's a lot of conditions to this perk. It's not a bad perk by any means. I think that all of this, like the perks from 2 stars and up, are all good perks to bring. Like if you bring any of these perks from 2 stars and up, there's not going to be a big issue with it. But if you bring these, what are you doing? Anyway, let's go to Nea. Balance Landing. I love Balance Landing. Exhaustion perks are always going to be in the top spots always, because they are just very strong. Balance Landing is, in my opinion, maybe one of the better ones, for obvious reasons. The staggering that happens when you fall from a great height sometimes can take forever to recover from, and with Balance Landing, not only do you just recover immediately, but you also get a huge 3-second sprint burst basically. And it's very nice. It's very nice. However, it does suffer a lot from map design. There are a lot of maps where you don't have many drops. Like you might have one hill on the other side of the map, but other than that, like there aren't many drops. And there's a lot of tiny drops that don't count with Balance Landing. So because of that, it has to be in 4 stars. I might even put it in 3 now that I think about that. But on its own, like if you have an okay map, like most of them, you'll get some value. I think it's a great perk, and you can pair it really well with like Dead Hard, for example. It's a very good perk where you can kind of micromanage your like exhaustion, I guess, because you can decide when you want to use the exhaustion. Sprint burst isn't really like that, and with Lithe, for example, which we'll talk about a little later, you will be vaulting windows in chase no matter what and use it early. So, you know, Urban Evasion. Urban Evasion is niche. It's not a terrible perk. It can be used to counter a lot of different things like hag traps and pyramid head, gulag juice on the floor, stuff like that. And also, for example, killers who have projectiles or, you know, huntress and stuff, where you can crouch really fast around things because you need to, you know, crouch so that they don't hit you. It can be pretty okay. Other than that, there is not much use in this perk. It's not bad. It's not good. It's niche. Streetwise, I think Streetwise is very good. I might even say 4, but the thing is, 4 stars have not many conditions, while Streetwise kind of does. Streetwise works on everybody, you and like everybody around you, and it can be very good. I think it also stacks. So if you're 4 people in one place with this, like you get 4 Streetwise on top of each other, which is insane. Streetwise is mostly used for Gen Rush builds, which is very fair. This perk is busted with a good toolbox and like build to last. Like, bro, I have done that so many times. And also a very random other niche use of it is you can bring it with botany knowledge, so that when you want to use a med kit that doesn't have any extra charges, it still gives you enough charges, because Streetwise give you 25% extra charges or like efficiency, while botany removes 20, so you get to heal yourself up from med kits. It's a very dumb niche thing, but like if you want to do that, you can do that with this. But Streetwise is pretty good, maybe even a little busted. I might be honest, but behavior, please don't change it, please. Now we get over to Bill. Left Behind, not that great. The aura read is no, this is just isn't a great perk. It's a very selfish perk almost. Being able to see where the hatch is pretty nice for specific builds. If you have those, there's so many tome challenges where you have to like unlock the hatch with a key or leave through the hatch. This perk will be amazing for you. Other than that, it's kind of dookie. It's like this perk kind of it only works when your whole team is dead and when you've already lost the game. And if you're like a hatch goblin that really needs the hatch, then yeah, this is a perfect perk for you. But other than that, this is not good. Borrow time is very solid. I don't know what more to say. Like the BT that you get from being unhooked is already pretty good, and getting that 10 extra seconds to both the speed and the endurance is no laughing matter. In endgame, it can change so much. It can it's so unexpected too. Like a lot of killers that will hard tunnel will literally sit and count the seconds. Have y'all watched an Otstarva stream where he's doing some kind of streak and he's tunneling and he's like 1, 2, 3? This is something that a lot of killers will do. With borrowed time, you don't have to worry about that, because after like 11-12 seconds, they will hit you, and guess what? It will hit your endurance. And in endgame, it's also amazing. It's a very, very good perk overall. I'm not going to put it in 4 and 5 stars because it is already in the game, but it just makes it longer. I think it's a good perk. I really, really do. Unbreakable. I think Unbreakable is almost S tier. I would put it in 5 stars if it wasn't for the fact that you have to get slugged for this perk to work. You know what I mean? It is slightly conditional. Every time I put it on, I don't ever get value, and then I take it off and get slugged immediately. It's kind of like a deliverance curse almost. When you get value out of this perk, you get a lot of it, and you don't only get value like once. The recovery speed increase will always be there when you have this perk, so you will be recovering way faster. And the synergy with this perk and Power Struggle, Flip Flop, all of those perks are also pretty good. This is a very solid perk. You will see this perk very often. This perk and a couple of other perks will almost be in every single build you ever see, for good reason. It's a pretty strong one. Now over to David. We're Gonna Live Forever. We're Gonna Live Forever is a pretty decent perk. I think it is slightly stronger now that old Buckle Up got nerfed. I think that this is just a solid perk. Healing somebody at 100% speed from the dying state is very fast. I don't know how long it takes to heal. I think it's 16 seconds, but it takes you 8 seconds to pick them up with this perk. And if you have botany knowledge, desperate measures, even like will make it still, that gets like way higher. This perk is pretty slept on. But I do understand why the killer has to slug, and a lot of killers will usually not slug too much. And also that endurance like they get after they get picked up is also really good. I think it's a very good perk. Dead Hard is still pretty good. No, like they have nerfed it like what 100 times. They reworked it, nerfed it. It's still a pretty good perk. Being able to essentially take 2 free hits at 2 different times in the match, kind of. Bro, that doesn't make sense. Being able to take an endurance hit almost whenever after being hooked, if you do it right, can be incredibly strong. This can make chases last way, way longer. Now, Dead Hard isn't as common anymore, but it is still pretty popular. And I never really got to play with the old Dead Hard because they changed it around when I started playing DBD. And by old Dead Hard, I mean the one where you could kind of use it whenever. It was based on the exhaustion and not on how many times you've been hooked. But it's still pretty good. Not much more to say. No matter, meme perk. You know what? We'll put it in 1 because it's a meme perk. It's literally just a meme perk. It's funny. That's it. It doesn't really have much use. Like, I guess it kind of does. If you bring it with other perks, it does kind of have some use. And also, it just kind of counters a couple of killers. But we have all probably loaded into a match where you're playing with no mither, and the second that you load in, you see blood orbs around you, and you're like, okay, well, Laurie. Soul Survivor is not good, but I am going to be honest, there is some niche uses to this perk. I don't know if I put it here or here. I think that the niche use of this is better than, don't bring this perk. This is kind of like Left Behind, where it's a very selfish perk. If you have any of those like challenges where you need to like escape or whatever, you can play like an absolute rata, but don't bring this. Object of Obsession, in a weird way, Object is actually like pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, Object is very good. It's kind of like the perk snitches on you, But one of the best parts about this perk isn't like some people say, oh, you get like extra repair speed or you get extra heal speed or whatever to whatever you're doing when whatever. That's almost as insignificant as you and me. It's so insignificant. Those couple of like percentages. It's really, really not that much. However, being able to know exactly what perks killer has, have you ever brought this perk against Franklin's Weave Attunement? How fun that is. Like, that's really, like, that's fun. And, like, the killer has barbecue. It lights up. You see that the killer has barbecue. You could use distortion, too, but distortion just promotes an unfunny playstyle, while I think off the record is way more fun than that. And you get a lot of value from it almost all of the time. If you're not that good at the game, if you struggle a lot with looping or whatever, you probably shouldn't bring this. This should be used by people who kind of know what they're doing. But it's a very fun perk. So not only is it good, but fun. Decisive Strike, S tier. Actually, no. I need to follow my own rules. 4 stars. But if I were to like sort it, I would put her here. She would be right here. Decisive, you're here. But I'm not going to sort it because it doesn't matter. Decisive is amazing. Decisive, I've been through a lot of different things and it's always kind of been good. And then they buffed it not too long ago and nerfed it a little bit again. But it's a very, very solid anti-tono perk. Now, it's not really going to work too much against like, I don't know, Nurse and a Blight. But for the most part, if you are getting hard tunneled, this perk will hurt the killer's pressure so much. And bringing this with like Dead Hard or Off the Record or something, oof, the killer's gonna have a horrible time trying to tunnel you. Unless you're like me, you're terrible at the game and go down like immediately anyway and miss the skill check. All right, now we're gonna go to the worst perk set in the apps, like the absolute worst perk sets in the game. Now on to Ace. Now these perks are terrible, I'm just gonna say that. Except for Open-Handed. Open-Handed is niche, but okay. You can bring this with Kindred and get very good value out of it. You can also use it with other perks like Bond and like Empathy or whatever. It also makes all aura reading abilities like Plunder's Instinct, I believe, and Left Behind and stuff like that work as well. It's solid. It works for the whole team. Might even put it up here actually. It's not that bad. But like, did you all ever play Chaos Shuffle and then you got this with no aura perks? You just have this and like a lot of random perks that has nothing to do with auras. Nobody had aura perks. Like, it just becomes useless. On its own, it's literally useless. Absolutely pointless and useless. But with other perks, it is very fun and nice. Up the ante, terrible, absolutely horrible perk. Luck does almost nothing in the game. The only thing luck does is make you have a higher percentage of unhooking yourself. That's it. Ace in the Hole is niche, but better than like Plungers and everything. You will see Plungers and Ace in the Hole a lot together because they do complement each other pretty well. And Ace in the Hole also makes you keep your add-ons on the item that you, for example, if you brought like a med kit with a syringe, but then you didn't really use it that much and you had it on your way out, then you keep that syringe with this add-on. With this perk, I mean. Don't bring this perk just for that. Another thing is that this perk alone does give you a little bit of value, I guess, during the match, because if you go into any chests, those items will be guaranteed to have an add-on or two, which can sometimes be absolutely terrible, like yikes. But sometimes it can be fairly good. Not a great perk, but it has its uses. Feng Min, Technician, terrible. Well, I guess it has its uses, but it's like, I don't know. I don't like, this isn't a perk that I feel like is worth getting into because it's just not that good. You will see newer survivors using this, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I will tell people that are new to the game that maybe you should run Technician for a little bit just to get used to skill checks. Other than that, it's not a good perk, but it has better uses than some others. Life is great. There's not much to say. Like, I am essentially just going to say the same things for all of these exhaustion perks. Like, hooray, you do an action or do something, now you sprint really fast for a little bit. One of the downsides to Lithe, in my opinion, is that Lithe is one of those perks where you use it at the start of the chase, while some other perks will be used more later in the chase. I guess you could micromanage your exhaustion and get better use out of like Lithe later in the chase, but why not just use sprint burst then? Lithe is still a very, very solid perk. Very, very beginner friendly as well. Alert is also great. It really, really is. There's a lot of uses for this. You will have a killer will on average kick many pallets and gens in one match, or breakable doors actually. Alert is really good. It's a very decent aura read. There's an achievement where you need 60 seconds of aura read on the killer. Bring this perk and you'll have it in immediately. It's very good. Killers love kicking gens, and there's a lot of pallets they need to kick. It's just overall very good. Even in chase, like if you're on a map with a lot of clutter, or you're in a building or an inside map and the killer breaks a gen, you will know exactly where they are. It's just very, very good aura read. Quentin, wake up. Niche, not amazing, but it's alright. It's there. If you bring it, it's okay. It's nice to be able to see that a door is being worked on. You can know which one of the two doors. Now, this isn't always an issue, but it can be in solo queue, and opening the door 25% faster is okay. However, it suffers a lot by the fact that it's an endgame perk, and there's 4 survivors, and the chances of if all 4 made it to endgame, the chances of you being on one of those doors is not really that high always. So a lot of the time we just not get any value. However, you will see both of the doors with the aura reading ability, but I don't know, it's not great. Pharmacy, kind of the same deal. It's just not great. Like, you will get value, I think. Like, this pharmacy is one of those perks that I don't think I've really used ever outside of like Quentin Adept and Chaos Shuffle. It's not great. Bring your own medkit. Bring self-care, for God's sake. But if you do, please bring self-care with like 100 other healing perks to make it faster, please. Like, getting a green medkit, back when medkits were actually different from each other, it was better. It would be, no, I don't think it would be here, but it maybe here. I don't know. It's not great. Yeah, you open the chest faster, I guess, wasting less time, but the heal is gonna take forever anyway. It's just not good. Vigil, however, I think Vigil is a pretty solid perk. When I think of solid, well-rounded perks, I think about Vigil. Vigil is a very nice perk. It's not overpowered, it's not underpowered. It is very nice. It works against Sloppy Butcher now, which 10 out of 10. It's very good for like exhaustion, like fearmonger, all of those things. There's so many perks that has to do with different status effects, and it's very nice being able to get those away faster, especially exposed. Like, if you're exposed by like haunted grounds or something else, this perk is very nice. Now on to Detective Tapp. Tenacity is okay. It's not great. You will get some value though. Not every match, but you will see yourself getting more value than you'd think you'd get from this perk. Like, I don't think it's a bad perk at all. I think it's actually pretty nice. If you bring it, then it's gonna be okay. Like, it's not gonna win you the match always. It's not gonna lose you the match either. It's just an okay perk to have in your slot. It does, however, have amazing synergy with like Flip Flop and Power Struggle, like 10 out of 10. Detective's Hunch. I will put this here because the information can be very, very good. If you have a map as well, all of that information you get from this perk will be put into that map and you have all the information in the world. It's a very just decent perk. It's a very solid perk. You can see where generators are. You just have good information. You know what I mean? It's pretty good. Stakeout has basically, I would say, the same thing. You get basically, for the most part, free great skill checks from this perk, which can be very good just on its own, but could also be good in skill check builds with like Hyper Focus, Bardic Inspiration, or if you have that medkit add-on we talked about earlier, it can also be very, very good with that. It's a pretty nice perk, and there's a lot of challenges in the tomes where you have to hit great skill checks, and this one just makes that challenge way easier. Kate Denson. Dance With Me. Decent perk, not amazing. It did get a slight like cooldown buff, I guess. Still not great. Niche. It works for what it's supposed to do, I guess. I wouldn't mind it lasting a couple of seconds longer, but I don't know if that would be problematic or anything. But yeah, Windows. I think that Windows is a 4-star perk. I don't use Windows ever. I think that Windows makes me worse of a looper almost. But I do think that Windows is a very good perk for people who kind of want to play a little bit of on autopilot. Also, this is a very good perk in solo queue to know which palettes have been used, and just it does give good information. It also will, for a lot of people, make them loop better. This is a great beginner perk, amazing beginner perk to learn tiles and learn where you can go to safety, what isn't safety but can look like safety. I don't know why it shows you breakable walls. Once again, I hate breakable walls. I don't know why they're there, but why does this perk show you that? I don't know. But pretty good perk. You will see this in almost every single game. At least one person will have it. Boil over. Niche. It's okay. It does what it's supposed to do. You can run this perk in 10 matches, and like one of them you will get value out of it, and you will laugh and have a good time. And you know what? That's enough for me. You know what I mean? I am easily entertained. Let's just say that. It's just, I don't know. It can be a fun perk. It's not good by any means. You bring this with like exponential and bring a whole like build and Swift and map and everything with it, and you get a very unfortunate, I don't know, pig. That killer's gonna have a horrible time, but at least you'll have fun on others' expense, right? Adam, Pebble perk. Pebble perk is yet again one of those perks that's like kind of okay. It's fun, it really is, but it's not great. You can, I have used this in Chase though, which you can like make the killer believe that you vaulted a window or something on the other side of a loop. You will get a little bit of value if you kind of play your cards right with this one. And I think it got buffed a little bit. Like I think they made the charge up of this like slightly shorter, so hey, we'll take that. Makes it even better. Other than that, it's not great. Like if you're on an elevated surface and you throw it, it's not gonna like throw it on the ground. It's gonna be in the air and it's just gonna be weird, which isn't a huge thing, but it's something to think about. Deliverance, 4 stars for 2 reasons. Number 1, the Deliverance curse, and number 2, if you only have Deliverance and the killer, like if the killer, I don't know, this is a very good perk, but it is a little inconsistent, a little bit. Bring this in a Swift, or like you will see this in comp all the time. At least one person will have this and they will play it very well. But other than that, like this, that like it's, I don't run this perk ever. It is very niche, weirdly enough to say. It's a very strong but niche perk. If this was a list of the strongest perks in the game, this would very definitely be here. Like obviously, but I'm not gonna put it there for my sake. Autodidact. Autodidact is pretty fun. I'm gonna put it in 3 because I do think it has more use than a lot of these other perks. Most of these perks will have value, but their value will never be either a lot or nothing. It will kind of just be a little bit always. While Autodidact can do a lot. It can be detrimental, but it can also literally change the match for the better. It's a pretty decent perk, and they did buff it a little bit, making the initial penalty to the first skill check, I think, a little less. So that's always good. Bring this with Solidarity and you might have some fun. I don't think this is a bad perk. Skill checks are just very inconsistent. You might get no value, but you might also get a lot. Breakdown. I think Breakdown is pretty, I'm gonna put it in 3 stars because kind of like the like Autodidact, you can get a lot of value, but you could also get nothing. When you get unhooked, you see the killer's aura for a couple of seconds, which can also be really good. Now we do have Wicked that does that, but way better. But the best thing about Breakdown to me is the fact that if you're hooked on a Scourge hook that's like kind of in a corner or kind of alone, if the killer's like RNG, like hooks RNG weren't the best, then you can really hurt that killer by bringing this perk. It's very anti Scourge hook in my opinion, because it, like, how long is it? 3 minutes? That's a very long time. Aftercare, also pretty decent. You will get value every match. You will see their auras. The auras aren't like on a range. It's about, you know, if you heal somebody, if you unhook people. It's pretty solid. Not amazing, but solid. Distortion, as much as you love to hate it, it is a very strong perk. I don't run this perk for any reason. I will run Object of Obsession instead, but I do see why a lot of people bring Distortion. I just think it promotes an unhealthy playstyle. But if you want to bring it, if you want to use it, girl, who am I to tell you not to use it? But the thing is, you can know a lot about the killer from this perk. If they have barbecue, you will lose a stack. The killer has no clue that you weren't seen. And you also don't get any scratch marks for 10 seconds, which is crazy, actually, because Poised, you need to do a gen and you have 10 seconds. But Distortion, you can reach, whatever. This is just a very good perk, very solid. It is getting looked into in the next couple of months. So if you're watching this in the future, that perk is probably changed for now. probably a lot of them actually. Jane, my beloved. This is my main P100 here. Not great perks. Kind of terrible actually. I don't main her for her perks at all. Solidarity is... I would love to put you here, but no. Solidarity is fun in a way. It can be pretty fun. If you bring it with Autodidact, you can get a good amount of good value out of this. But the thing is, you have to be injured. The person you're healing has to be injured. And there's just too much going on for this perk. They did buff it to make it 70% out of instead of 50, which, you know, is way better. And I think... I don't think this is a bad perk. As I said, all of these perks from 2 stars and up are all perks that I think are decent. If I see those in like any perk build, I won't say, oh, that's a bad perk. But yeah, Solidarity, kind of niche, not great. Poised, terrible. Get in the bin. Actually, you're horrible. You will not get value. If you're lucky to be in chase while this like perk works, most of the time the killer will just know where you are regardless. A lot of killers don't like look at your scratch marks to know where you are in chase. So this perk is just terrible in my opinion. It could arguably be in 1 star because you can get value out of this. Because like what if you're on an indoor map and you have light-footed, for example. No, too much going on, but whatever. You can get slight value, but just know I want to put you here. You're here because I love Jane. Head on is pretty good. I don't want to put it in 4 stars because I don't know. It's 3 stars. You will see this used in comp quite a lot for a lot of reasons, but I don't think Head On is a bad perk. You essentially get to stun the killer kind of on command-ish, like in a way. And it's very fun. A lot of people use this. This is a very, very popular perk with bully squads all over the world. You will have encountered a bully squad with these perks. Certain killers don't really get hurt by this, but others really do. But Head On is a pretty solid perk for a very many other reasons too. Like if somebody's being tunneled and you can stun the killer, give your teammate extra distance, and then imagine also taking a hit. Like it's a pretty good perk. It's not 4 stars for many reasons. It's not 5 stars for even more, but it's a pretty solid perk. Ashley Williams. Flip Flop is 2 stars. It's okay. You'll get a little bit of value here and there, but it's very rarely going to be much. You kind of only get value if the killer is blind, but also slugged you for a while. If you bring this with like Boil Over and a whole build, then yeah, you're obviously going to get value, but other than that, not great. Buckle Up Now is not great. It's okay. It can be good for like tunneling and some like anti-slugging builds. Just bring We're Gonna Live Forever. To be fair, bringing this with We're Gonna Live Forever could actually be a very good thing. I've never tried that before. I might have to do that. New Buckle Up is not amazing, but we had our time with it, and a lot of people, Killer Mains in specific, are very happy about its demise. Medal of the Man is pretty good. I don't want to put it in 4 or 5 stars because there's too many conditions, but it's a fairly good perk. If you get it to work, you will get a lot of value. You have to put yourself in a lot of danger, and sometimes you won't even get stacks from what you think was a protection hit, and then it wasn't a protection hit. And there's a lot of ifs and buts with this perk, but it's pretty solid when you do get the good value out of it. And you can also bring Object of Obsession with it to get like a free aura read on the killer. I've never really done that, but you can. It's a very fun thing to do. Nancy Wheeler, Better Together is decent. It's alright. There's so many perks nowadays that make gens yellow that you will never know if it's because of Better Together or not. I do know that Better Together have some other uses, but it's not great. It's better than these because it has its value, but I don't think I would be running it. Fixated, I'm gonna give it 3 stars because walking in DBD can really change a lot of different things. You can force killers to break Bloodlust with this. You can also obviously walk faster. You know, you don't have scratch marks when you walk faster. Also, just being able to see your scratch marks is a very good way to learn how scratch marks work. I ran this perk a lot when I was a newbie because I wanted to learn how scratch marks really worked while I was playing as a survivor as well. It was very, very good. And I would tell anybody that's new to the game to use Fixated to learn a little bit about their own scratch marks. Pretty good perk. Inner Healing, pretty good as well. I think it's very solid. It's not amazing because obviously you do need to get a totem, but it is a free heal. I do think that this is better than Self-Care, but there are limitations. Obviously, if some other people have been cleansing all the totems, then you don't really get any. And if you can't find the totems, sometimes it can take a long time to run around the map to look for them. There's like a lot of conditions with this perk. But all in all, when you do get value, you get pretty good value too. It counters Sloppy Butcher and Colorophobia, other perks. Sloppy Butcher is very common, so a good counter there. Pretty solid perk. Now to Steve. Babysitter. I almost want to put it in 4 stars. This is really good. If you bring this with Borrowed Time, it's going to be very, very great. That extra 10% haste that the survivor gets for 30 seconds with no scratch marks, no pools of blood is a very, very good thing to bring. It's just a very good perk. It's just a very good perk. You get a lot of value from it most of the time. You make it very difficult for the killer to tunnel unless it's like a blight or whatever, but you know, those killers have their own issues. I would like to see more of this. You already do see a lot of it, so. Second Wind. Second Wind is, if you can get it to work, it's great. If you can't get it to work, it's useless. Second Wind also has a little bit of that deliverance curse where you always get hit first or you don't really get to heal. It's just, it can be good if you get to do it right, but it's too situational. You can use it with Off the Record and it will be pretty good like in that. Like if you get hit through Off the Record while Second Wind is still trying to activate, it will just mend you automatically. And if the killer don't hit you with the Off the Record, now you're fully healed and you can take 2 hits. It's just pretty nice. Camaraderie. Camaraderie, the only reason I will put it here is because it can be very strong. Not that it is. I don't think I would use this. Reassurance is better. Not that you can put Reassurance on yourself anyway, but I do think that this perk, it has its uses. I don't really see it that often for good reason too. It's not that great. Yui. Lucky Break. Lucky Break is pretty good. I would have put it in 4 stars if it wasn't for the fact that it only lasts 60 seconds. And in certain cases, those 60 seconds, you're not going to get too much value. So we're going to put it in 3 stars. Against a Legion, for example, terrible perk. Against a Plague, terrible perk. It's, you know, like, it's a very good for stealth. If you bring Iron Will with it, you are most definitely going to get away from the killer. It's very confusing for the killer. It's very nice. Its recharging thing is not, like, that easy always. Not everybody likes to be healed. We all know solo queue. So it's not amazing, but it is a pretty solid perk. Any Means. I think Any Means is very fun. I love Any Means. I think that Any Means could, in a way, I don't know, being able to like pick up pallets that the killers don't break is actually a very good thing. Like if you're in a 4-man swift, I think that at least one person should have Any Means every single time to pick up and punish the killer for not breaking pallets. The second that the killer knows that somebody has Any Means, they will start breaking every single pallet. Because they have to. It's a very good perk. I like it. Breakout, the same. I love that. I like that all 3 Yui perks are just in a line here. Pretty solid perks. She has a good set of perks. Not overpowered, not underpowered, not amazing, not terrible. They are pretty good. Breakout is very good for, you know, breaking the survivor out of the killer grasp. There's not much more to say about this perk, but it can change a lot. They did change it. I don't know if I want to say buff or nerf. I do see it as a little bit of a buff myself, but you could see it both ways. Zarina, we have Off the Record. Off the Record is great. Now, the reason it's not 5 stars is, again, there's a couple of conditions. Number 1, the killer can just insta-hit you off hook, and there you go, no Off the Record for you. Number 2, the killer can just not tunnel you, and there you go. Now you don't really have much value. Yes, there is more sides to this perk. You have the anti-aura read and you have the no noises, which is all pretty good effects of this perk. But if you remove the endurance, this perk is ass, you know what I mean? But it is a pretty good perk. I think also the reason that it makes it really, really good is the fact that it has a lot of good effects together, while endurance is the one carrying the others are also really good. Red Herring, terrible. We all know why. Actually, it is niche. Is it though? It's a meme perk, okay? If I put no mither here, then I have to put Red Herring. I don't need to say more. Red Herring is terrible. But it can be fun. Isn't there like a challenge with it as well? I don't know. For the people it's pretty good. It's a very solid perk. You won't always get the value out of it because you might be injured for whatever reason, or you won't get to the survivor in time. You might have to trail a lot to get use out of this, and now the buckle up has been nerfed. It's not amazing, but it is still a very good perk. Cheryl, Soul Guard is niche. I think that if you do get value out of it, it's pretty good, but you probably won't. That's the thing. You most definitely will not get value out of it. If the killer is slugging you, for the most part, they probably will not come back for you. And even if you do get picked up with this, what are the chances that you get hit through the endurance? I think that with Unbreakable, this can be a pretty good thing. And with Exponential, which we'll talk about a little later, it's also pretty good, but it is niche. Blood Pact is actually... Oof. Now, this is where I wish I could have 1.5 star. I will put it here because it's not terrible, but it's not great. The aura read is okay. The speed is kind of laughable because it only is if you're right next to people, so you're 2 people wasting a lot of time just running around together. We're gonna see some perks later that have this exact issue, but worse. Repressed Alliance. I think Repressed Alliance is a little bit better because you can deny a lot of things with this perk. You can deny a pain risk, which, I mean, I guess with you having to wait 30 seconds for the repress to be over, you kind of still lose that time, but you can make a killer not be able to kick it with pop, overcharge, colorblind, whatever. You can protect a gen. Another thing is that it synergizes very well with wiretap, like very, very well with wiretap. Bring this with wiretap and you are golden. Visionary is a perk that you are gonna get value out of no matter what. I do find it really strange that you can't see gens after doing gens. Like, I feel like that's so pointless. Like, that condition is just dumb as hell, but you know, whatever. I think that this is one of those perks that should be base kit. Yeah, we do have Deja Vu, but I do think that Visionary should be just for everybody. Oh, I didn't mean base kit. I meant a general perk. My bad. But now to maybe my favorite perk in the game, Desperate Measures. And I'm going to put her right here. No, I'll put... Am I biased here for putting... No. Healing perks are good. And now, get ready for me to start yapping, but Desperate Measures is very nice. It's not as consistent as other healing perks like Botany Knowledge and other perks, but number one, there's no penalty at all to this perk. So if you find a medkit and want to heal yourself, you do heal yourself faster depending on how many people are injured, and you will always get 14%. You will always get value, 14%, either healing or unhooking speed, no matter what. Because every time you heal and every time you unhook somebody, that means somebody's injured or unhook or whatever. This perk is great. It can be very, very nice for the unhooking speed. I think the unhooking speed is what makes it a little more like underrated to me, because the unhooking speed can be very, very significant. That with resilience can also do it can do so much. And I do think that Desperate Measures is great. I don't think it's as good as Botany Knowledge. I really don't. But the reason I don't run Botany Knowledge as often as I do Desperate Measures is because you can heal yourself with a medkit, normal medkit, fully. And if you bring those double charges thing, whatever, you can do 2 full heals a little faster with Desperate Measures. I think the Desperate Measures is a great perk. I wish more people would run it. I think that it is here, but I'm going to put it here because I love it. Build to Last. Build to Last is very good. It's kind of crazy that it's in the game. Bring that with Streetwise and a commodious toolbox with double charges, and Jesus Christ, do you have a generous build on your hand? This is a very good perk. If you bring it either with like Streetwise and also Inner Healing, like, you're wasting absolutely no time almost. While you're getting the charges back, you're getting healed. Like, this is just a great perk. And for med kits, and a lot of people do use it for like flashlights, which if you care about flashlights, good for you. I don't. It's very good for replenishing your charges on mostly anything, especially Gen Rush build. Èlodie. Appraisal is not good. I do think Appraisal has a little more value now that the new Trevor perk came out. And with Lara perks, though, like Specialist or whatever, though, that one and Moment of Glory does raise, I guess, the value of Appraisal, but Appraisal isn't great on its own. Yes, it can give you extra items, but you are already wasting a lot of time trying to get those items, and if you get a green key or just a terrible brown toolbox, like, it's just not going to do much. But it's still better than nothing. Deception is also okay. It's very obvious most of the time when you are using Deception. You can get a little bit of value and a little bit of a laugh every now and then, and I think it's important to laugh, but it's important to have a little bit of fun every now and then. Looking at you, Killer Mains. And I think that Deception does that exceptionally well. Even after it got buffed, I still think it's Power Struggle. Power Struggle is also 2 stars. Okay perks. Like, Èlodie's perk sets are, like, they're all 3 in a line here. And It's unfortunate that it's like that, but Power Struggle alone is almost useless. You will very, very, very rarely get this perk. I think the funniest thing about this perk is it kind of works like how Blood Warden works, where it's kind of just always in the back of killers' heads. It's always like, oh, what if you have Power Struggle? So you will always dodge pallets, and that also hurts the perk itself. But bring it with a lot of, like, a whole build, and you can do a lot with it. Yun-Jin. I like Yun-Jin's perks because they fit her lore very, very well. I think she has one of the best, like, lore accurate perks. However, her perks themselves are not great. Fast Track, I think, is maybe decent. It's okay. I like the concept of this perk. We have very, very little perks like this. If you squint your eyes, twist your head, move to another country, learn a new language, and think about it for a second, Desperate Measures is kind of a little bit like the same, but for survivors, but not really, but like kind of if you really think about it. But that could just be me because I love Desperate Measures. But Fast Track can be good in like Gen Rush builds, and it's not a bad perk. Bring it with Stakeout and you will get some value out of it. It's just unfortunate that it's only 3 stacks. I do think this perk could get a little bit of a buff. Put it to 4 or 5, because the more... I like the fact that the more the match looks unwinnable, the stronger a perk gets, if that makes sense. I like that. Kind of like Fire Up for Killer. I wish there were more perks like that, where it buffs you the worse the match is looking. Like with Desperate Measures, if everybody... Oh my god, I keep getting back to Desperate Measures. I'm sorry. I'm gonna shut up. But Fast Track is okay. I do think that it can get a little bit of a buff. Do think it could be a big problem if it got too much of a buff, but, you know, I don't work at Behavior. They're not gonna listen to me. Smash Hit. Smash Hit is okay. It is a pretty solid perk. Problem is, get a stun. I never get stuns. I don't know why. Killers always know exactly when to respect the palette and when not to. That could just be a skill issue on my part. I'm fucking ass at this game, but that's alright. It's okay to be terrible at a video game and still enjoy it. But Smash It is fairly good. You get 4 seconds of a speed boost instead of 3, which doesn't do much, but it's a pretty good one. Like this, it's solid. Every single exhaustion perk is going to be good. Like, it's just like that. This, I think, is one of the worst ones just because of the condition of it. Self-preservation is not good. I think I even want to put it down here. It is not going to get you much value, a little bit here and there, but the biggest problem with this perk is that it's a very selfish perk. It doesn't even do what it's... Bro, I don't even know what to say about this perk, I'm going to be honest. It's just not that great. It's very niche. You can use it for like builds for getting flashlight saves and stuff like that. Other than that, you're not going to see much value out of it. Haven't used it ever, except for when I did Yun-Jin's Adept, or maybe if I got it in Chaos Shuffle, but other than that, not a great perk. Counterforce. I like Counterforce. I do think that Counterforce is... you know what? Actually, Counterforce isn't that great. I run Counterforce pretty often, actually. Being able to heal... What? Being able to cleanse totems faster and faster and faster can be pretty strong. Hex perks are on a rise. We do see a lot of Hex perks at the moment, and this perk is very good. It shows you the aura of the furthest away totem when you cleanse one, which I don't know. I don't know if that's too serious or whatever. They could have done another one, but whatever. I do think that this perk is very good, and if the killer is Pentimento, that 20% like stack to the cleansing speed keeps going. So you can cleanse totems very fast. Even the first totem will be cleansed pretty fast. And if you have Resilience, somebody has Leader, you are... these totems are gone. Resurgence, pretty good. It suffers from Sloppy Butcher, that's it. Sloppy Butcher, that whole like hemorrhage existing in the game is hurting this perk significantly. Same goes for Solidarity, actually, earlier. Those two perks suffer a lot from hemorrhage, which pretty common in add-ons and, you know, in perks. So other than that, it is a very strong perk, especially now that it does 70% with a pretty okay medkit. That is crazy. Very underrated perk. Blast Mine, pretty good. You get a free stun. Killers love kicking gens. Not when I'm playing Survivor, by the way. When I'm playing Survivor and putting Blast Mine, killers don't care about the gens. Not even a little bit. But when I play killer, I fall for this all the time. The curse of having nowhere to hide. But it's a pretty good perk. You get free stun and you can get a lot of distance. And also it's funny. We all have laughed at killers kicking a Blast Mine gen because it's hilarious for some reason. Have I said the names? I kind of stopped saying the names, didn't I? Oops. Leon. Bite the Bullet is not amazing. It's okay. It's niche. When it's there, it's there. You will get a little value here and there. Not amazing, but it's okay. If you bring this perk, now, when you see this at like the bottom of 2 stars, don't think about it, the fact that it's on the bottom. Just think that it's 2 stars. These aren't in order, okay? Flashbang. Flashbang itself is kind of bad, but it's very fun, and that's an important part about perks, especially to me, that Flashbang is very, very, very fun to use. Got a little bit of a buff to the cooldown. Same goes for, no, not the cooldown, the charge up. And the same goes for Blast Mine and a couple of other perks, which was nice. Pretty nice. And flashbangs are fun, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, alone, a flashbang isn't going to do you much. You can throw it when you pull down a pallet on the killer and get a little blind, but for the most part, it's not going to be amazing. Rookie Spirit, also the same. It is okay. It's kind of actually not that good. Now that I think about it, it's pretty bad. Yes, after hitting a couple of skill checks, you will see the auras of regressing gens already, but I don't know. It's that's not great, especially considering you have to get those skill checks already. It's just not a great perk, honestly, which is sad to see. Some of you might put it in 2 stars. I think it does not deserve that. If I see Rookie Spirit, I'm going to be like, okay, whatever. Clairvoyance. Decent, pretty nice perk. This is essentially just Detective's Hunch, but kind of on command when you've cleansed a totem, and it's pretty good. It's a very nice perk. You can see the hatch aura. You can do window checks. When you activate Clairvoyance, you lose collision with the killer, so you could do fun stuff. I don't know. It's just a silly perk, and I do think it's also pretty good. Circle of Healing is very good. It obviously gets hurt a lot by the fact that it's only in 1 range and the fact that the killer can just stomp it out and you have to reboon it. Other than that, it's a very, very, very good perk, and I wish I saw this perk more. Solid perk. 100% speed to healing is ridiculous. This had been almost a crutch perk many times. It's just a good perk. Shadow Step is also just great. I think that Shadow Step is very underrated. Hiding the aura, hiding scratch marks, it's a very, very good perk altogether. It's kind of like a free distortion with no stacks, but obviously it suffers from the fact that the killer can stomp it out, or you could just not be in range. Did I say Mikaela? Damn, I forgot. Jonah, Overcome. Decent, pretty good perk. I used to use this a lot before. It's a very nice perk to just get away. You won't get much use out of it if it's like an insta-down killer or if you're just injured. I wish it worked with endurance hits, which kind of sucks that it doesn't. I don't know why it doesn't do that. So this perk essentially just does not work unless you're healthy, which really hurts it a lot, actually. The corrective action is terrible. Don't run it. It's just not good. Don't run it. It's the only use it has is if you're playing with a new player, like a new friend of yours or whatever that just got the game, and you just want to make sure that they don't mess up too many skill checks. They can just run Technician instead. This is terrible. Exponential, however, is pretty good. I'm going to put it here. Slugging is pretty common, and Exponential can really be a huge game changer. Very, very good perk. I think most boons are. The 3 first boons that we saw, very, very good. It does get worse though. Yoichi! Parental Guidance. Pretty okay. It's a pretty decent perk. Solid. 3 stars usually just means a solid perk. 7 seconds of no scratch marks, pulse of blood, whatever, all of that. Pretty nice. I wish that we had the original version where it did 10 seconds, because 7 isn't necessarily too much, but with Smash Hit, you can get a lot of value, and even with Head On. So this perk is pretty okay. Empathic Connection is also very nice. This is a very nice perk that I like to run when I'm playing with my friends so that they know exactly where to go when they need heals, or if they just want to know where I am while they're injured. It's just very nice, and you get 30% healing, which healing is... I wish that people ran more healing perks. If you don't want to run like Desperate Measures or Botany or Will Make It, please run Empathic. You get the sweet Aura Read, but you also get 30% healing speed, which is gonna change the game a little bit. Dark Theory is terrible. I'm sorry to say this, but I do think... I can't put it in 1. But for it being a boon totem, it's insane. Made for this, used to have 3% when you were injured, no conditions. How does this perk exist? I don't know. It's a very bad perk. You will get slight bit of value every now and then, but it is very, very, very rarely going to be enough. Haddie. Inner Focus, or Inner... whatever. I think it's called Inner Focus. Not good, actually. Seeing the killer aura when the survivor gets downed, you see it for a couple of seconds. Most likely you already know where the killer is because you just saw where the survivor got downed. And number 2, you see their scratch marks, which, okay. Like, it's not a terrible effect, but it's niche. That's why it's in 2. Residual Manifest, a little better. Like, giving the killer the blindness status effect can do some stuff. The killer won't be able to see where the gens are, or hooks, or if they have any aura perks, they're just gone for 30 seconds, which can be okay. Not amazing. You get a free flashlight out of it, which can also be nice. Overzealous. Overzealous is also actually pretty good. You can bring it with a boon, bring it with Circle of Healing or whatever, and you will get very consistent value out of this perk. What I have noticed though is when I run Overzealous, I play incredibly safe. I make sure that I'm not like getting hit unnecessarily. I hide a lot, so I don't really lose my Overzealous, which can hurt the game a little bit. But Overzealous, 10% and 20%. If you get a Hex Totem, which Hex Totems are getting more and more popular, is nothing to be laughed at. It is pretty significant. Ada, Wiretap, pretty good. Decent perk, solid. Got a little bit of a buff to the charge up, pretty nice. I don't think I have anything negative to say. If you bring it with Repressed Alliance, you will get some value. You will most likely get some value regardless. A lot of killers like to kick gens anyway, but you can put this on gens with almost no progress at all, and the killers will usually not kick those gens, but pretty solid perk. Don't think it works with open-handed though, which kind of sucks. Reactive Healing, also pretty okay. It's not great actually. No, I'll put it down here. A little bit too many conditions actually, but when it does work pretty okay. It's a nice perk. You could bring it with Solidarity and have some fun with that. And I don't know, you could have fun builds with this, but it's not amazing. Low profile, not good. I don't like the design of this perk. It can activate multiple times. You will get some kind of value, but for the most part it's just a selfish type of perk. I don't think this is a perk that's ever worth running unless you're doing like a Rata build where you're hiding to get hatched for a challenge. Other than that, don't bring that perk. Rebecca, better than new, very bad, terrible actually. 16% cleansing, opening, chest speed and healing speed is not great when you're applying it to somebody. You have leader, which basically kind of does the same thing, but just better and more. I don't know. Better Than New is such a strange perk. I don't know why they haven't buffed it in any way. It is such a bad perk. It's heavily, heavily outclassed by so many other perks. And it's just a weird perk. I don't know why it exists. I don't see what this perk is supposed to do. Like, what's the point? Reassurance. Great. It's a very, very good perk, especially after they buffed hook timers to 70 seconds instead of 60. This one you can punish camping killers so much, and this is a very, very good perk to bring. Hyperfocus it can be very problematic, but alone it's not great. Well, it can be okay if you're good at hitting skill checks, but for the average person, you're probably not going to hit that many great skill checks in a row. Bring it with Stakeout, a whole build for it, and there you go. It's a kind of problematic. But other than that, alone, it's not amazing, but it's pretty solid. You will get value. It works on healing too, but that's not when you want to use it. Vittorio. This is Potential Energy, isn't it? Yeah, Potential Energy is solid too. You can use it for splitting up 3 gens. Doing a gen in a corner, 99ing it, using your potential energy to run to that gen, to a gen that's in the 3 gen or whatever, and put a lot of progress in that gen. It is a pretty solid perk. Fogwise, kind of the same deal. It's just a good perk. It's pretty decent. If you bring that one and Stakeout, you will get a very good, consistent amount of value. And I do think I would love to see more people bring this perk. I really, really would love to see it more. Quick Gambit is not good. Kind of terrible, actually. Very rarely does anything good. It did get like a buff kind of change, whatever, not too long ago, and it's still terrible. Don't run it. I do see what the perk is going for. I like the design, but it's just the numbers are horrible. It does stack, however. So if there's 2 people in chase at the same time with this perk, yes, it stacks, but it's not significant in any way. Thalita. Now, Thalita unfortunately has some terrible perks. That is not a hidden fact. Everybody knows that. Cut Loose. It's like a quick and quiet, but like extra steps. I don't think I've ever had any use out of this. Maybe you could get some use out of this perk with quick and quiet, or if you're like on Larry's or something, but other than that, this is a very bad perk. Friendly competition. I almost have to put it here for one reason, and the only reason that it gets 2 stars and not 1 is because anything that can make gens go faster, even if it's like a second, is gonna have some value in it. This perk is incredibly niche and weird. I don't see the point of this perk. The numbers are just terrible. I don't even know how I would buff this perk, because this could be a very dangerous perk to buff. But I see kind of the vision, but the numbers are just horrid. This is a terrible perk. When I see it, I get stressed and feel like I have to run to another gen and get the 5% value for like what? 20% of the gen? And guess what? That only like shaves off a second or two. It really, really, really isn't that much. It's really, really bad. But the only reason, as I said, is because it gives maybe a couple of seconds less on each gen. Just bring deja vu. Or prove. Power 2, also terrible. Very too conditional. Blood Pact is basically the same. I kind of have to put them here, don't I? Together. But like, there's so many conditions. The cooldown is also absolutely insane on this perk. Like 140 or 120 seconds. It's ridiculous. And the speed is 5% while you're in like, what, a 12 or 16 radius of somebody else. It's just not good. Unless you're doing a very unique and specific build with a friend, this is just not good at all. Renato, background player. Background player is solid. It is, it can do a lot of different things. One of my favorite parts about this perk is not necessarily getting saves, which is the whole point of this perk. This perk is very fun for that, but another thing I like about this perk is background player can give you a lot of distance on the map, even if it isn't to get the distance away from the killer. You get 5 seconds of 150 speed, which is basically a sprint burst, but for 5 seconds to go anywhere on the map. You can get way faster over to the unhook or towards where the down happened, to other gens, to other players, to specific places on the map where you need to be. It's pretty good. And it only has 20-second exhaustion. So it's a pretty fun perk, and it has a lot of like good uses outside of its fun aspect. Blood Rush is not good. It is very alone. It's literally, you cannot use it, but also you need to run it with something. If you bring with Sprint Burst, you have to literally be Death Hook, right? The thing, like, there's just too much going on with this perk. This perk is just not good. It is way too conditional. You have to bring other perks. You have to be Death Hook. You need to be careful. There's too much. This perk is terrible. I don't like. A lot of people when this perk came out thought it was going to be problematic and overpowered, and look at it now. It is horrible. Really not that good. Fun sometimes, not good. Teamwork Collective Stealth is not great either, but I will put it there because it does have a little bit of stealth aspect of it, I guess, when you are healing, like when you're splitting off from the heal. I'm really trying to find some positive things to say about this perk. I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but it's very difficult. But I guess it does have a little bit of a use in some way, especially if you are doing very niche fun builds. Don't run these two perks. The teamwork perks, I love the design. I love that both of the siblings have their own, and like I love the design. I love everything about them and the concept of what they could have been. But that's the thing, they aren't what they could have been. Anyway, Gabriel, troubleshooter. Decent perk, pretty nice. See the killer's aura, you see the generator with the most progress. It's a pretty good perk. You will get value almost every single match, regardless. I do think that this is a pretty good perk. Made for this isn't great anymore. Too many conditions, too much going on with it, and it's, I don't know, it's not bad. It used to be literally S tier. Like, it would have been 5 stars if it was the old one, but the new one is not amazing. Some people might put it in 3 stars, and if you want to do that, sure. I loved running this back in the day when it was 3% because I kind of have high ping, as we talked about earlier. I have 60 ping. This helped me a little bit, slightly, a little bit, to not get sucked into those horrid ping hits. I understand why it got nerfed, but every time they nerf stuff like this, they nerf fun. in my opinion. You know, it's whatever. Scavenger is okay. It's not great. Actually, no, it's not good. Don't bring Scavenger. Bring Build to Last instead. I think that there is use to this. And yes, it does have a little bit of potential, but there's a reason you don't see it anymore, ever, for a good reason. You should not run this perk. It really isn't that good. Nicolas Cage, Dramaturgy, pretty good perk. You get either a free item or you get insta-downed if you get exposed. You can get some extra haste. It's nice. It kind of feels like an old version of Dead Hard, but for being healthy almost. It's a fun perk. I think that it's a nice and solid perk. You can get some very cool, good, fun items out of it, and the animation is silly, and I think it perfectly fits Nicolas Cage. Scene Partner, same deal. It's pretty good. You get value. You do scream, which kind of reveals that you're there. You could scream many times, but the aura read is pretty good. You see this perk a lot. It's very good. It's also required for when you play Steve. I'm just saying, if you play Steve, this is a required perk. You have to use it. It's a fun perk. And that's kind of also the point with Nicolas Cage. Fun. I love that they introduced fun back into the game. And plot twist. Plot twists are also fun, but plot twist is unironically pretty good. Like, it's actually a very good perk. You get up to 2 uses every match. This perk can change the game. I'm not even kidding. This perk can do so much. There's 100 things you can do with this perk. There are so many videos of people explaining all the million things you can do, and please go watch them if you don't know what this perk can do. This is such a very, 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 very good perk, and it has pretty good synergy with a lot of other perks as well. Very solid perk, and it's fun. Thank God. Can we have more fun in DBD? When is the new fun update? Ellen, Lucky Star, pretty okay. Maybe I'll put it here. It's okay for the information, and it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's an okay perk. A little bit of stealth, I guess, and a little bit of information here and there. I don't think it's a bad perk. Don't think it's a great perk either. Can be good in a locker build if you have inner strength. No, inner healing. Inner, whatever. The Nancy perk. If you use that perk, it can synergize pretty well with it. I don't know. It's not a bad perk. If I see people run it, I'm like, okay, cool. Chemtrap, fairly good. It only takes 20% of a gen now to get this perk, which is almost nothing. It lasts shorter, but you will most definitely get a little bit of value. I never get value because I have high ping, so when I try to put it on the palette after dropping it, it just doesn't work. The killer gets to, no matter what, the killer gets to kick it. That's a big skill issue on my part, I know. God palettes and pretty strong palettes, it's a fairly good perk. Light-footed, it's okay. It's not great. You deactivate it after fast vaulting something, and it's, I don't know. It can be okay, but the problem is you have scratch marks and breathing noises. Like when you ran for a couple of seconds, your character's like, you know what I mean? Like the killer can hear that, so it's not amazing. It can be okay, like it can be fairly good for trailing and wanting to get flashlight saves. I do see the fun in that, but it's not a good perk by any means, but it's not bad. Alan Woke, Champion of Light. Yeah, okay, I'll put it in 3 stars. The Hindered is pretty good, and also the fact that you don't really lose much distance when you do use it is also pretty nice. I'm under the belief that flashlights are kind of useless in this game, but this perk makes them less useless. I see a lot of people use it. It's a fun perk, and that's what I think is important, that people have fun in this game. Not that everybody runs Deja Vu, Resilience, Sprint Burst, whatever. But that we all have some fun in our games as well. I don't think it's a bad perk by any means. Boon Elimination, however, is decent. This is not a great boon perk. I don't know why it doesn't show other totems. I feel like that's kind of weird. It also makes you bless totems 10% faster if you already have a bless totem up already, which, okay, there's not many perks that can do that, but the information is decent. It's okay. It serves its purpose. I don't think it's a useless perk, and I do think it's pretty good. You will get a decent amount of value regardless, so this is a pretty good perk, and you help your teammate with the information as well. Deadline. This perk is not good. It is not good. It's fun, I guess. If you bring a whole build for it, it can be good, but it's not good in any way. I'll put it here, though, because it does have some uses, I guess, like the 50% less regression to gens and heals, I guess. I don't know if it works on heals, but that is fine when you... I don't know. It's not amazing. I do wonder how this works with Technician, though. I've never tested that, because Technician gives you extra skill check miss penalty, but this one, I don't know. Does anybody know? Anyone? Not amazing. I would not use this perk. Sable. Invocation. Invocation is okay. Is it though? Is it? It's... I don't know. I'm gonna put it here. I'm sorry, Invocation lovers. I think the reason I'm gonna put it here is because the best way to use this perk is when you are Death Hook. I think that's when you should use this perk. But at that point, you're pretty far into the game, and wasting 60 seconds doing this... I don't know. Invocation isn't a bad perk necessarily. When I see it, especially now that it's not 120 seconds, now that it's only 60, I don't know how to rate this perk. It's very strange. You can get a lot of value, but you also just not get any. Very curious to see if and how they're gonna do perks like this in the future, if they will ever do. We've had 3 survivors after Sable with no perks like this. So I am curious to see, maybe if we get a Frank Stone chapter, we could see an Invocation perk again. But I don't know. I like the concept, but it's not great. Inner Strength. Inner Strength is very good. I think Inner Strength has 2 good uses, obviously. Number 1, you can see the killer's aura after being healed, and that's very nice. But the main part is healing yourself at 70% speed. That is pretty good. If you bring Desperate Measures or Botany Knowledge or Resilience, that obviously goes up. And with Botany Knowledge, you actually heal yourself faster than a normal heal. So I think it's a pretty good perk. Now, getting to basement isn't always great. If you're on a map where basement is like in a corner in Shack and you're like on the opposite side and you're injured, you should not run over there. I did run it for quite a while when it came out, this one and Botany Knowledge, and got a lot of value. So I don't think this is a bad perk. It's a very good perk, actually. It's in 4 stars. and the aura read is very good. You know, like being able to see the aura after that, like why is that a thing with the perk? I don't know, but I'll take it. Wicked is very good. Wicked is great, actually. Getting being able to unhook yourself in basement is very good with 100% chance. Very good. Free deliverance in basement. That's great. But number 2, seeing the killer's aura for 20 seconds after getting unhooked is very, very good. Even if you're not like getting tunneled, you have free wall hacks on the killer for 20 seconds. You know exactly where they are. This perk, very, very good. A lot of people think it's busted. I don't. Ace3 or Bearmar. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm so sorry. This is Mirror Delusion. Mirror Delusion is fun, not good, but it's fun. I do really like it. There's a lot of funny clips with it. I even have a couple of funny clips with it, and I think it's very fun. You know what I mean? I love fun in this game. I feel like this perk has very little use other than being fun, but that's the point of this perk. It's supposed to be a funny meme perk, and it actually does the funny part better than like No Mither and Red Herring, because they actively does something bad while these perks kind of just are silly. Bardic Inspiration is actually very good. I think it's actually 4 stars. Not 5 for obvious reasons, but this perk can be very, very nice. You know, maybe I will put it down here, actually. You can waste a little bit of time with the animation, but it's a very silly, like, you're playing the loot. Like, it looks silly. You can befriend killers with it. You can befriend survivors. You can just be a little silly with it. And also, you get bonus to skill checks, and that's actually very good. Like, on generators, you can generate like crazy with this perk. Still Sight. Still Sight is okay. I don't think it's great because standing still for 4 seconds, I think it is. 4 seconds is way longer than you think it is. And you have to stand completely still. You can't do anything. You can't do a gen. You can't heal. You have to just stand still or crouch, I guess. And then you can see the killer aura and other stuff. Like the perk itself, like what it's supposed to do sounds good on paper, but in reality, it's not great. But it's better than nothing. Lara, Finesse. Finesse is very good. I don't need to tell you why it's good. It has its downsides in the fact that if you're injured, it doesn't work, and it has a cooldown, all of that stuff, but it's still a very, very good perk. I have missed a lot of swings as killer against this perk, and I've also made killers with this perk. It's very, very good. Not underrated, obviously, because everybody's running it, but I don't think it needs a buff or a nerf. I think I like it where it is. Could even buff it, who cares? But that's me. That's me. I would tell you to like buff Hope, make Hope work the whole game and get it like 20%, and I will be happy. I will do the same with like killer. Like I want to see some crazy shit, but I'm just joking. keep it like it is, but it's a good perk. Specialist is okay. I don't know, it's niche. It works. It makes you, if you're wasting time doing chests, then you waste slightly less time by having this perk. It removing the max amount of charges though from the gen is actually not to be slept on. It is pretty nice. We have seen a couple more perks do that now, with this one and Weaving Spiders doing that, and I do think that's a very interesting way of bringing gen perks to survivors. I do find it very interesting, but you have to waste a lot of time, so it's not great. Hardened is pretty good. I used it. I have a clip of me using it against a doctor. Like, the doctor just had no clue where I was, and it seemed to be a doctor that wasn't too familiar with the game, so he was very confused about like why I didn't scream ever. And you get like free wall hacks, and obviously you don't scream. This is the perk I was talking about earlier when I said it's heavily outclassed by like Calm Spirit. Bro, Calm Spirit doesn't exist when Hardened exists. Yes, you have to cleanse a totem and open a chest, but Jesus Christ, the value you get is so much better. Now over to the last set of perks we have in the game as of now. Trevor Belmont. And this is Ice of Belmont, I believe. This is a good perk. It's not amazing, but it's good. It's almost like a twisted Dark Sense in a way. If Dark Sense was released today, it would be this perk. Like, these perks would be one, I think. But I do really like Ice of Belmont. If you can even bring it alone. Not that you would see too much value out of it, but you would see some value. I like that this is kind of the counter to, not the counter. I like that this is the counterpart to Lethal. It's a kind of like, I like that this is a survivor version basically of Lethal in a way. I like that. I think it's a fun and interesting perk. Exaltation, I believe this is called. This chapter came out like 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry if I don't know these names. It's not that good. It's fun. It's niche and fun, and you can get good items out of it. People use it mostly for flashlights, because I don't think there is any other use. Like, you don't need a better med kit. They're all the same. And the toolboxes vary so much depending, like the toolboxes aren't dependent on the rarity necessarily. They're just kind of random, so you wouldn't want to do it with the toolbox either. It's just not great, and alone it does nothing. And then last, Moment of Glory. I don't think Moment of Glory is that, like, it's this is one of those where I would put it in 2.5, because yes, it can be strong, but I think it's more fun than it is strong. You can get healed up from this one in multiple different ways. In some ways, you could waste less time by using this perk when it comes to healing, but personally, I don't really love this perk. Interesting design, but I do think this was more made for fun. You know what I mean? You will probably see, and probably have seen, a lot of people use this perk already in fun and interesting ways. Will not be me. Don't care too much about what the perk is trying to do, but I can see that it is a pretty okay perk. So here's my tier list of all the survivor perks in Dead by Daylight. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you want me to do a killer version too, let me know. I probably will regardless. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Long enough video. I don't need to yap anymore. Bye.